This new season of Snowfall, they just bringing it, and I'm loving it all. Guys, my name is Kay Shantae. What's going on? It's your girl Kay Shantae, and I am here. It's your girl Kay. So let's get into it. So it is February 23rd. If you don't know, Snowfall came back on February like 22nd, 23rd or so. Snowfall season 6, episode 1 and 2. I'm giving you a review and talking about this new latest season. I am a diehard fan of Snowfall. I love Snowfall. I love the story. I love the show. I love the characters. Like, I just love this show. Let's jump into it, y'all. So, okay, a recap. We start off with the first episode. We have a recap of season 5, and Franklin's money is stolen. If you remember, Teddy went into the foreign accounts and took Franklin's money when Franklin told him that he no longer wanted to do cocaine business with Teddy anymore. Then Franklin's mother, Sissy, gets the KGB involved out of Cuba, I want to say, in season 5 to try to help and take down Teddy. Season 5, Javi is killed by the KGB man. Gustavo is taken into custody by the DEA people, the same people from before that him and Lucille was trying to cut a deal with in the past seasons. Franklin and Louie face off after she cuts a deal with Teddy. Makes things very turmoil between the family. And then at the end of season 5, we get the episode where Franklin ends up robbing Louie and Jerome, the club, the stash houses that they had. Franklin ends up robbing them with Black Diamond and Dallas. So boom, that's season 5. So season 6, episode 1, we start off with the cops at the scene where the bodyguards that Franklin killed for the money and the cocaine, the cops are at the scene. Louie and Jerome are at the scene. And we start off with this little girl on the porch. So we later find out that this older man comes home, finds this little girl on the porch crying all night. She's been out there, and come to find out, one of the bodyguards is her father that ended up getting killed. Established that. So then Franklin is still running around into a dead end with his money. He's trying to figure out what he can do to get his money back, but he's running into all sorts of dead ends. And as you know, V, his pregnant fiance girlfriend, he's asking her to get involved because if you remember back in season 5, she was introduced, and also her mother is introduced as this character as a con woman. And it's kind of like V and her mother kind of ran tricks on people and took people's money and kind of just conned a lot of people. So we're introduced to this idea of her mother back in season 5. So he's asking V to get involved because V knows how to launder money and knows how to do this type of thing. V ain't having it. She's kind of over the whole drug game that Franklin's been in. She wants him to get out. She doesn't want anything to do with this. So she's kind of at first like, no. And we go to a scene where Franklin is meeting up with the associate from his father, Alton, the black man. I want to say he's from the Black Panther movement, but he's a person that knew Alton, that Alton was going to ask for passports and stuff when him and Sissy was trying to leave town. And he's a person that is able to find out information on people. So Franklin is meeting up with this associate, asking the associate to locate Teddy's family and try to attack Teddy in that way. Because it's very hard to get Teddy. I mean, if you are up to speed on Snowfall, you know that Teddy is an untouchable motherfucker. He's an untouchable person. Teddy is stuck trying to find his associate, Prissa, I think is how you say her name. She was with him the night that the man from the KGB was in the house trying to find records and trying to find out information on Teddy. Teddy showed up to that same house, and that lady ended up disappearing. Now, it alluded to you thinking that the man snatched her up, but later we find out Prissa's in jail. Nothing really happened to Prissa, but she did end up seeing who that man was. Teddy also learns that Javi is dead. Javi is dead. I hated to see that when Javi was killed. Like, I didn't understand why he needed to die. I liked Javi's character, but rest in peace to Javi. Franklin learns that as well as Teddy learns it. So then we get to a scene in episode 1 where Gustavo shows back up. So Gustavo, I'm like, you done got arrested and you back out, you're snitching. So Gustavo shows back up after being into custody. We learned that he has cut a deal with the DEA. Now, he's not saying anything to his partner. The kids are running up, happy to see him. She's happy to see him. She's asking a bunch of questions, but really he's not allowed to speak and say anything. So yeah, they kind of just, he's like, it wasn't Teddy that was watching and listening, because if you remember in season 5, he found a device in his house to where somebody had been listening on the conversations. So they thought it was Teddy, but come to find out it was the DEA people from before. The young lady that got killed by Gustavo that was cutting a deal with him and Lucia. So the DEA people want to cut a deal with Gustavo to sink Teddy. So we already are introduced to 3 people that's trying to take Teddy down. You got the KGB trying to take Teddy down. Then you got the DEA people trying to take Teddy down. And then you got Franklin and his mother as an entity trying to take them down. So essentially, it's not looking good for Teddy, which I'm okay with. I don't like Teddy's character. Teddy needs to burn. So, moving on. So the KGB wants to meet with Franklin. The man ends up meeting with Sissy, and he's like, look, I need to be able to meet with Franklin, and we need to be able to start, establishing the facts of this case and getting into the nitty gritty of what we're here for. So she was like, okay, I'll talk to Franklin, try to set something up for y'all to meet. So he's like, meet me at the museum 10 tomorrow. So cool, boom. At this point, Frank, you can kind of get the gist that Franklin does not really want to go about getting Teddy this way. He kind of wants to do it and handle the issue himself. So then we move on to Louis and Jerome are in a tough spot after Franklin robs them. Louis meets with Teddy later on and asks to get some work and get help on consignment. She wants him to front her the drugs, and she'll pay him back the money later when they're able to make deals, but she has nothing to give Teddy up front. So Teddy's like, okay, fine, I'll help you. So now, going back to Franklin stealing the product from them, Franklin's in a tough spot to where, okay, how you going to sell the product? Because these people, he got out the game. So all of the connections of people that were buying and selling product have made their connections with either Lee or Louis and Jerome. If you remember, Lee took off to Africa. So now you just have Louis and Jerome that are kind of running the streets. We get a scene where also with the money, he wanted to go ahead and put that money in an offshore account. So again, he asked for V's help. Remember in the beginning, V ends up going to Miami to get the stolen money hidden in an offshore account so that at least they can have something to fall back on. And Franklin goes in the hood and try to set up a deal with Big D. So Big D like, what's going on? I ain't got nothing to do with y'all family drama. I just want to get my bread, get my paper. So Franklin sets up a deal with Big D. Of course, Big D goes back and tells Jerome, and Jerome's like, okay, so how can I use this deal to get back at Franklin, since Franklin is at this point dodging his calls? They're not speaking, they on bad terms. And in all of this, the KGB is moving in, the DEA is moving in, and everybody is in a tough spot essentially in episode 1 because it's a lot of turmoil. People having to make decisions. Are they going to become informants? Are they going to go against their family? The family feuding. The people are involved. It's a lot going on. In the episode 1, where Franklin and his mom Sissy have a heart-to-heart conversation about meeting up with the KGB man at the museum the next day. Franklin has cold feet and really doesn't want to do that, as I stated before. And so the mother is kind of just like, Franklin, at this point, we have no other option to go. Like, this man disappeared your father and took away the most important aspect to my life, which was Alton at the time, as they disappeared into Cuba. And she was just explaining how they got a raw deal essentially from Teddy. Teddy has fucked them two ways to Sunday, pretty much to say, like, Teddy has taken advantage of a lot of people and hurt a lot of people. And Teddy has killed a lot of people. A lot of people have died at the hands of Teddy. So at this point, it's like, F Teddy. The mama like, F Teddy, F the CIA, and F the government for backing them. So boom. That's that. That's it. That's episode 1. So then going into episode 2, you get Teddy getting the girl Krista out of jail. They sit down. She sits down with a sketch artist and is able to draw up the guy from the KGB. So his face is like sketched out and he looks exactly like the man. I was like, how is that possible? But yeah, they got it looking just like him. The KGB man meets with Franklin in the museum the next day. He's recording their conversation. He's putting everything on record because they're trying to start and establish a case against Teddy and the CIA. So now Franklin meets with Kane. Kane comes back into the picture. If you remember, Louis had set up the light-skinned cop to go and kill the OG Kane and eliminate the problems that he was causing. Kane ends up surviving, but they are saying that he's paralyzed. So he's been in the hospital this whole time. Franklin did pay Kane a visit in season 5 to let him know Louis was the person responsible for shooting him. So then he's been paying them a visit again to try to, get that product off his hands because they were one of the people that were involved with the distribution of the drugs. So then we get to Kane wants to meet with Franklin. So Franklin meets with Kane, and Kane is just like, where is these folks at? You told me they had something to do with trying to end my life. Where are these people at? I want blood. And Franklin, I don't think Franklin really does know where they are, but it kind of just looks like Franklin is shaky. It's like he's having cold feet or second thoughts about telling where the whereabouts is, because at the end of the day, this is his family. This is his aunt and his uncle. So Kane just reminding him, you the one who put that out there. So if you shit me, it's up. So then we get to Louis and Jerome. They meeting with one of the people that they supply. And the man was deaf. He was sign language. I like how they put a character in with that type of situation, just to show, all people can be involved in this type of lifestyle. Just to be people of all character, of all sorts of different, aspects of life. So they had the guy, he was deaf, he was sign languaging. And the man is upset because he like, where is the product? Yeah, I got stuff to do. I don't have time to be out here fooling with y'all. I'm not from out here, so what's up? Jerome dumb self gonna talk about something. He said, rats. Jerome is a fool. So they trying to throw the man off and tell him that rats is the reason why they don't have the product to give to the man. He ain't really buying it, but he like, okay, I'll let y'all buy some time, but y'all need to give me my product. Doug. Louis and Jerome also pay a visit later in the episode to Crazy Scully. So Scully has took a turn in his character for the better, I would say. He's not so deranged and crazy. I mean, he's still questionably crazy. But for the most part, Scully has realized, like, I had to pay the cost of being in this business, which took my baby girl and my woman and got them killed. This is the risk of this business that we're all in. And he looked at it as, I'm going to let bygones be bygones and take my karma for what it is. So that's the type of mind frame that Scully is in at this point. So they go to talk to Scully, and Scully's just informing them, like, OG Kane is he's somebody to fear. Like, he's going to come for y'all and come for y'all hard. He's just letting them know, like, hey, this ain't nothing to really be playing with. So they like, oh, hell, we're going to prepare for that. So I guess they're just trying to get themselves prepared for what's next. We go back over to Gustavo. Gustavo ends up taking the DEA and some of their prospect people to the tunnel where him and Teddy take the drugs to get it over the Mexican border and back and forth. So he shows them the tunnel because at this point it's like, honey, you got to produce something, some type of evidence. Like I said before, the KGB and this DEA, they're wanting to move in and start to establish what can we do to get Teddy. So then we get introduced to V, gets her mother involved. She calls her up, gets her to come into town. The mother is a light-skinned complexion woman, speaks many different languages. Like I said, her character is introduced to be very smart, very intelligent, and a just a con artist that knows the tricks and ins and outs of how to manipulate and get this money. She's looking pretty well off, like she's not pressed or hurt for money. So that's the, how we are introduced to V's mother. Franklin meets with the mom later after V. Well, V did tell her mother that she was pregnant, but then they set up for Franklin to meet the mother. So the mother wants to help Franklin under stipulations. First, she asked for 20% of the money that she ends up finding. Franklin's like, hell no, I'm not doing that with you. No, it's a no-go. So then they go down to 10%, but also with the effect that she wants to be in her daughter's life and in her grandchild's life. And he's like, okay, that's fair enough. But she was just sitting down explaining to him that Teddy just didn't take your money on his own. It takes for someone to impersonate you, draft up fraudulent paperwork for that to have even happened in the first place. So that's how we get to that. So he's like, this woman might know what she's talking about. So Franklin agrees and they leave from there. Well, then we fast forward to Franklin getting a call and he's headed over to the hospital. Dallas is there in tears. The nurse comes out and lets it be known that Black Diamond has died. Uncle Jerome beat her with the butt of a gun so bad to where the woman bled out. Skull was fractured. She passed. She died. So now this plays a part in a dynamic that, Dallas and Black Diamond was Franklin's right hands. They had a bad reputation. They got shit done. They were those girls. So now it's to the point where Dallas is distraught, and both of the ladies had kids. So now, Dallas is looking at the situation like, I'm out the game. Later on in the episode, Franklin does pay Dallas a visit just to check on her and see how things are. And fast forwarding to that scene, it's like Dallas is like, no, I'm out the game. I'm good. Like, we always made a pact. If one of us got killed or something happened like this, we would take the kids and go. So Dallas is out. So that leaves Franklin isolated to where on a day-to-day basis, he just has himself riding around doing all of that. And we get to Sissy, as Louie and Jerome were riding around handling their business. Sissy keeps paging Jerome on the pager. Jerome calls. Sissy invites him over for family dinner, Sunday dinner. You already know what that's about. So they sitting down and you can just see the hurt, the pain in both of them. And then, just Sissy coming to him saying, look, I feel like you are to blame for why the family is divided and broken up now, because Sissy has always kind of blamed him for getting Franklin involved in the drug business, because Franklin started out selling weed through Jerome. And then we later find out that Jerome stepped up as a father figure when Sissy and Franklin first moved to LA. Jerome vowed to take that father figure, protect him, and raise him as his own. Sissy just kind of asked him, what are you gonna do? The scene ends. And we fast forward to Teddy calls Gustavo in the middle of him showing the DEA the tunnel. Teddy calls Gustavo and asks him to come to the warehouse to show him the picture of the sketch and ask him, does he know this man? Has he ever seen him? What's going on? Gustavo is like, no, I don't remember him, but then goes home and finds the picture of where he remembers the man from Louie and Jerome's wedding. So Gustavo's like, oh man, I do know this man. So then he immediately contacts Franklin to find out who is this man and what's going on. Why is he after the whole situation of Teddy? So then Franklin meets up with Gustavo at a wrestling match. Child, Gustavo is shook, and Franklin comes and he's just like, who is this man? I got a picture for you. Look at this picture. Franklin is kind of playing it left to the point where he wants Gustavo to tell him where Teddy is and how to find Teddy, in exchange of telling who this man really is in the photo, in the picture that the sketch artist drew up. Before, when Franklin went to Gustavo for help, Gustavo would not help Franklin. So Franklin's kind of in a position like, you got to give me something for me to give you something. And he offers Gustavo $10 million if he is able to get his money back from Teddy. So boom, we got that. So then at the end of episode 2, we get Jerome and Franklin finally meet up. And y'all, this scene was something. Like, this was a good scene. So we get them sitting down, calm, collected at first. And Jerome kind of just breaks out and just explains to Franklin, hey, you know, the background of how they even made it to LA, what Sissy and Alton went through, and how Alton first fell off the bandwagon and became a drunk and a bum, and how he vowed to step up and have purpose in his life to take over and be a father figure to Franklin and a man to his sister to help them out. So in all of that, Jerome is just kind of getting sentimental to say, you know, how dare you steal from us? How dare you do this to us when all that I've done for you as a father figure in your life? Franklin ain't hearing it. Franklin like, that bitch that you... He going off. His anger is more directed to Louis because, to be honest, I feel like Louis was wrong for cutting a side deal with Teddy in the first place. Louis got greedy, and Louis is the type of person that she's kind of somewhat of a con artist too. Like, she'll dibble and dabble and keep you around and use you to step over you to get ahead. And then she's kind of the person that forgets about you when she gets where she wants to be. The same that happened with the woman at the club. She took that woman club and killed her after using her to get close to her. So it's like Louis has this past and this history of doing that to people. And I feel like Franklin was one of those people. So he feels some type of way. He like, if it wasn't for me taking the risk that I've taken, y'all wouldn't even have the money, the drugs, or the lifestyle in the first place. And I agree with that. That's true. Like, if it wasn't for Franklin, Jerome didn't even want to get involved. Louis was the one shotgunning the whole thing and pushing Franklin to actually do and get involved in this cocaine drug business. So, bam, Jerome ain't having it. So Jerome hits Franklin like 2 or 3 times in the face. And it gets heated. The argument gets heated. And so Franklin pulls a gun on Jerome. And they're in the middle of a restaurant. So people are all around. People just froze like, what's going on? And Jerome like, do it. Do it. Take me out of my misery. Do it. So Franklin is just shaking. It just didn't go right. It just didn't go well. That's just what it is. They both have valid reasons to be upset and mad. But it does not end well. Franklin kind of just leaves and rushes out of the restaurant. And they are both just teary-eyed and just frustrated and upset with all of this animosity. So it's a lot going on with this. But I can say these 2 episodes was really, really, really good. They bringing it. They bringing it. They bringing it, honey. They bringing it. Like, and this is the last season. So season 6 will be the last season of Snowfall, which is sad. But I kind of think that the show kind of got to a place where, at this point, how many more stories can we flip and spin and tell and write for this to keep being a good show? So I think it's just kind of at its wit's end to where it's like, okay, we're kind of finished here. Me personally, I want to see Teddy burn. By the end of this season, Teddy needs to be either dead or in jail. Teddy needs to hold accountability. Then we get the recap of episode 3, the trailer. So we see V meet with her mother to start the process of trying to get Franklin's money back. Lee comes back into the picture after being gone to Africa for so long. And then we get Teddy finds out about the KGB. Teddy finds out about the KGB, so I'm interested to see how that's going to turn out. Gustavo breaks down and is just against the wall because he just really doesn't know what to do. And in situations like this, people have ended up dead. You know, people that have went up against Teddy end up dead or in jail. And then Louis and Jerome are struggling, honey. This war between Sissy and Franklin and then Louis and Jerome is just tearing apart on their relationship and their personal business and aspects. So that's what episode 3 has to offer. I hope you enjoy my video. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you later. Bye.